think if you do things the wrong way, some really interesting things can happen. Things were revealing themselves as the snow melted, and I thought I can use, a discarded coffee cup just in the same way that I can use a cool piece of rusty metal. So I started doing that. It's a collage. It's a collage inside of a box. I started to feel like I was relying on the scale and the density of the materials as a way to validate the works. So when I made the move to working with cardboard boxes and coffee cups, yeah, I think it was a direct response to wanting to be able to really hone in, and it just gave me more freedom. There's lots of piles of material that I left prior to taking a break to have my kids. So now I get to come back and everything feels very new and unfamiliar, which is such a treat for me. These are some older works that never got finished. My baby came very early, so I sort of left the studio very suddenly, and I'm just returning back now after, we're getting close to a year. Creative, it was obviously all still there after I had my kid, but your circumstances have changed. So, time became way more valuable. It's just mind-blowing how quickly this person changes, and watching that happen in front of you really makes me personally think about my work differently, because I'm someone who deals with change and trying to accept that change. I remember I found this in like a scrap bin, and this is just a study. It's not a finished work or anything like that, but I had written it off. I remember thinking this was so stupid, and threw it in the bin. And when I just came back to my studio recently, I found it and I saw it completely differently, and I thought, this is something I can pick up on. That's kind of the crux of what I do, really. It's a lot of bringing materials out and putting them away again. So, I might be working on something that I decide I've done, like, this, for example, not super successfh. I think I'm done with that, and I might just put it away in storage for a bit and revisit it years from now. I think in terms of by the minute decision making, it's a part of myself I just don't know. I think it's impossible to know, and I try to keep that part of myself at a distance. So I leave the studio, I percolate, then I show up again, and I go, okay, it's so interesting how this degrading plastic is working with this rusty metal. I don't think these are not thoughts that are literally going through my mind. They're thoughts of the eye. I'm just looking at this table right now. This would be an example of, I have something very specific and logical to do. I need to locate a small sculpture that I'm going to be exhibiting. So I go into that box and I try to find that particular sculpture, and I bring all the sculptures out, I locate it, and then I leave to go to the washroom. And when I come back, I walk in and I actually see the potential of what I've just done by accident as something that could be rethought intentionally. All your focus is right here, because this is your work table. So this is the place I'm gonna bring all my materials and I'm gonna work. But it's probably what's happening behind your back, just over there, that's gonna be really interesting. I like to do a lot of things the wrong way. So, being so caught up in the moment with a work that I'll use, not make the right adhesive choice, break something in the process, split wood, strip screws. I think if I knew where I was gonna end up, I just wouldn't do this. There would just be no point. I think once you show a work, that's it, you're done, it's no longer yours. It's always really interesting to hear how people interpret the works, and people are very generous with their interpretations, which I really appreciate. I think if I could explain it really clearly with words, there would be no reason to make the work itself. This is a language that I can only speak through these materials. My job feels like bringing together things that may not normally be brought together in an effort for both myself and the viewer to look at their world a little differently. You think you know your block, you have no idea. And how differently you can see the world if you're really paying attention.